My name is Buddy Witherspoon. I'm from Columbia, and it's a great privilege and pleasure to have all of you all here today. Thank you for coming out on this blessed day, and it's an exciting day. We are going around the state. We started this morning in Greenville, we went to Spartanburg, and now we are here in West Columbia, and from here we're going to Charleston. Then tomorrow we'll cover some more of the state and what have you. So 2 days is what we're using to announce. I'd like to take this opportunity, since my family is here, and that's good and unusual, I'd like to introduce to you my wife. Raise your hand, sweetheart. Joyce. And my daughter, Missy. Raise your hand here. Yeah. And my son-in-law, Edward. And 2 of the grandchildren here, the young lady standing on the floor and the grandson in Edward's arms. I'm privileged to have them with us today, and so I don't have to say to you that I am married and have a family. I've been married since 1969, and the family is very important to me. We just had a blessed Thanksgiving celebration together with the family, and it's good to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here today to announce to you and say to you that I am casting my hat in the ring for the candidacy of the United States Senate on the Republican Party from South Carolina. Most of you all know me, having been involved in the process here, in the political process, the community, the civic, professional, spiritual, and everything. In the party, I have served in Lexington County as the chairman. I was elected 4 terms starting in 1987, and I was elected the national committeeman in 1986. I'm in my 3rd term and will be stepping down from that by week's end. Have been involved in a lot of campaigns, a lot of committees, a lot of referenda all around the state, and have been at the grassroots level for years. And I step up today to run for, present my candidacy, not as an ego thing, but because I see a great deal of unrest around South Carolina, and not only South Carolina. Sitting on the National Committee, I see a great deal of unrest around the whole country. And having said that, I think it's necessary that we all put our shoulders to the wheel and push forward to make these things happen and to make this country what it's supposed to be. You know, our founding fathers and forefathers gave us a great document in that Constitution, which is under attack every day. And we've got to maintain what that document stands for. You know, we're one of the few nations that's had one document in place, and it's stood the test of time through the years. And I'm proud to be a part of that. In fact, I also served on the Electoral College for South Carolina for 3 terms, 96, 2000, 2004. And as you remember, 2000 was a very contentious race, very close, probably the closest in our lifetime. But of course, George Bush won, and of course, I was part of the Electoral College when he was re-elected the 2nd time. Some of the issues that come to mind, and of course I'm here to announce today and not talk in a lot of depth because we'll be moving from here shortly to go to Charleston. Some of the issues that are important to me are naturally immigration. I do favor legal immigration, stood for that for years. It used to be in the years gone by that we had like 250,000 people a year coming in here. Now we're talking about 1 million people plus all the illegals that have come in, and I'm not so sure that that's good for the infrastructure of the party and of the state. I would say to you that legal immigration is not good for our infrastructure. It hurts our economy. And of course, sometimes they say, gee, it's cheap labor. It's not as cheap as you think it is, especially for what they are paid for what they do, even though they are hardworking people. But on the other hand, it does cost us as far as schools, law enforcement, crime, health care, and what have you. In fact, you may have heard that in California there are many hospitals that have gone bankrupt because having to take care of the illegals, their families who have come across the border. And I would say to you that I'm not only concerned about our southern border, I'm also concerned about our northern border. We have to secure everything if this land is going to be secure. And by the way, sometimes we talk out of both sides of our mouth when it comes to homeland security, because we don't, how can the homeland be secure if the borders are porous and people coming across all the time? We're not doing a very good job with that and haven't done a good job. There is legislation that has been passed by Congress that puts in place things that would enforce the borders and gives us the money to build a fence, take care of technologies, the Border Patrol and what have you. But unfortunately, we haven't followed the rule of law of that legislation that's in place, and therefore it's been passed by, and we haven't done a very good job with the immigration factor. Moving on, by the way, the North American Union, have you heard about that? North American Union is supposed to be a conglomerate that's being talked about to bring Mexico, United States, and Canada together under something that's similar to the European Union. And of course, personally, I don't think it's a good idea. And the reason I don't think it's a good idea because it leaves our borders porous. And could that be the reason that they didn't want to secure the borders to start with? Just not too long ago, we wouldn't allow Mexican trucks on our highways, but as of September the 1st, we now have Mexican trucks coming in here. Lord only knows what's on those trucks unless we stop them and search them. It used to be they had to stop at the border, transfer it to our trucks, and our trucks came safely across the United States. We do not want a North American Union. We do not want illegal immigration. We want to support what's good for the country. And we may even need a timeout at this point in time to say, hey, we've had enough come in for the time being. We need to get our house in order. So immigration is very at the top of the issue as far as I'm concerned. As far as taxes are concerned, I think we need to naturally be sure that the tax cuts that we have put in place need to be permanent. I do not support the death tax going any farther than 2010. Right now it's supposed to go down to essentially zero at that time, and we don't know what will happen to it from then. I will support the death tax as far as when we pass on, that those taxes will, and those monies will go to our families. Hard-earned money that's already been taxed in the past, why does it have to be double taxation again as far as the death? I see some of the fair tax people who have been around, and of course, you know, we've talked about revamping the IRS. We've talked about that from years as far as it being broken. Can y'all hear me back there, all right? Halfway, can't hear me at all. Come a little closer. We talked about the IRS being broken for years, and we want to redo it and what have you and try to fix it. Can't fix it. It's broken. We need to do something else. And of course, the fair tax is a consumption tax. And I want to make you understand the fair tax is not an additional tax. It is a replacement tax of the taxes we already pay today already. And we need to consider that because it's something that would be for the good of all concerned as far as helping with maybe the immigration factor, Social Security, and other things. As far as values are concerned, family values, I think most of you all know that I am a family man. As my family is here today, I am pro-life. I support sanctity of life from the unborn to the affirmed. Totally and completely. I think that the United States Supreme Court needs to revisit Roe versus Wade in the near future. I believe in the sanctity of marriage. I'm well represented of that here today. I believe that marriage in this country has always been traditional as far as one man and one woman. And that's the way it should be. And if necessary, we need to have a federal amendment, which has been talked about. I support that 100%. Okay? I think that would put us in order totally and completely. Of course, I would also say to you that it's one other thing I want to bring your attention before we close here today. I'll give you a chance to ask some questions. One thing that we need to do as far as this state is concerned and a need, and that is that we have a great deficit in this state. It has nothing to do with this campaign. We have a great deficit in the state of one of our natural resources, and that's water. We haven't had the rainfall in the last year in this state and along the southern borders, and I want to applaud the governor of Georgia who called that state to their knees at the Capitol and all around to pray for rain for the state. Because let's face it, the spring will be coming, summer's will be coming, and these crops are important for us, ladies and gentlemen, to feed our peoples. And rain is very important. So I'm calling today on all the clergy, pastors, rabbis, laity, and all the citizens and constituents of South Carolina, let's fall on our faces and let's fall on our knees and pray and ask the Lord to send us rain that is much needed, because if there's any need in this state right now, it's any more than that. There are needs, but that is one of the drastic needs. So let's all fall on our knees and pray. And by the way, you say, does that really work? I remind you of many years ago at the Constitutional Convention that was meeting in Philadelphia at Constitution Hall. There was one of the delegates that stood up. They had been talking about this great document for a good time, and they'd come to everything except fisticuffs. And he stood up and he said, I think it's time that we took a break and that we fell on our faces and knees and prayed and asked the Lord to help us get through this so we can forward to this document. And I don't need to tell you that they didn't pray for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, they prayed for hours. And once they finished praying, they got up, and you know the rest. That great document was forged with the Constitution of the United States, which we still live by and have today. Join us as we all across this state pray for the rain and what have you. Having said that, I have decided this race after talking to many people around the state as far as where we are and where we're going, and they feel like the representation that we have had in Washington has not been in the best interest of South Carolina. So therefore I am stepping forth and offering my candidacy for the Senate, the United States Senate. I would ask for your prayers, I'd ask for your support. I would like to draw wisdom and insight from you as far as what we need to do and how we need to do it. There are a lot of things that come forth in the political season that seem to be negatives and already begin to fill the blogs and the computers out there. And I would say to you, fear not, that we stand up to face these things successfully like we have in the past. We don't run from them. And we will do everything we can to be sure that what is in the best interest of South Carolina. This campaign will be run from the grassroots up. It will be run in the tradition of the late great Senator Strom Thurmond. He was the type of individual who stopped, looked, and listened to what the people had to say. And he took those ideas and those thoughts back to Washington, and you know what he did for the many years that he served this great state. And I will do that same thing. Constituent service is most important, not only in South Carolina but around the nation. But I remind you that if you give me the honor to serve you in Washington, that I go there not to serve the interest of Washington, D.C. I have done that same thing serving on the National Committee for South Carolina. I go there to serve the best interests of the citizens of the great state of South Carolina. Having said that, I would like to give you all a chance to ask some questions if you might, or anything that you'd like to share with me.